Hi everyone, it's Marcy Jennings here from Stampin' with Marcy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada, and I want to thank you for pressing play on today's video. Today I'm going to be sharing a pretty Bouquet of Hope paper pumpkin kit alternative card with you. This is the card that I have created, and what I have done to create this is I have gone ahead and watercolored a piece of shimmery white cardstock with the Rococo Rose and set that aside to dry. And this here paper is actually the inside of the envelope. So I just very carefully opened it up, and I'll be cutting this down with you to show how easy it is. I've taken the base here, as well as a piece of the gold foil. And my strip here is actually, I've taken the vellum layer that has the gold foiling on it, and I have just cut the ends down off of it. So I'm left with this. So I've got this pretty vellum gold embossed piece that just adds that little bit of accent to my card. So let's get started here. We are going to bring in our Pierce mat, and like I said, I had watercolored this ahead of time and let it dry so that I didn't have to wait with you watching. This over, I am just inking up that floral stamp with my memento, making sure it is good and inked. All right, I'm going to breathe on it as well to make sure it's nice and moist. And we are going to take this and stamp it right in the center. Now, all of the measurements will be on my blog. The link is in the description below. So I am just giving this an extra moment for that ink to transfer. Okay. And there we have our pretty inked up piece. All right, we're going to leave this aside for a moment, and we are going to come in with our little strip of Rococo Rose cardstock and my sentiment. So I'm going to ink up my sentiment. And line this up with my little grid paper. This is the Stamparatus grid paper, and this is just an offcut. I always hold my breath to make sure that I am stamping straight, hopefully. And that's crooked because I was too far away, so let's move this a little closer to me. You just never know. It's a good thing we have two-sided paper, isn't it? All right, so here we go. And that is better. All right, set that aside. Close this up and move that out of the way. Okay, so bring in my cutter, and as you can see, my gold is 4 by 5 1/4. So I want my this to be, actually let's faster just to do this, I guess. We're just going to come in and get rid of all these flaps. first and foremost, as they cause a little bit of an issue. So you're just going to come around and snip all this excess off. All right, so now I can actually, all right. So I want to make sure that my, that embossed or burnished layer there is cut off. We don't want that. Well, let's bring that a little smaller. I do it this way first. There. Now we can see. All right, so that was 4, so we're going to bring it down 1/8 of an inch to 3 7/8 and by 5 1/8. And there we have trimmed down our envelope to a nice layering sized piece for our card front. And then you've got these extra pieces here that you could use for something else, so don't throw those away. All right, so let's bring in our silicone craft sheet so that we can apply some glue. Whoops. This, I was getting ahead of myself there. All right. So, adhere that down. I like my liquid glue as it gives me a few more moments to move it to make sure that I've got that fairly straight. Now we are going to fold and burnish our base. And by having the gold layer underneath the mossy meadow, it's just, you know, tying in that little bit of gold that is in the piece of vellum. I found that the entire piece of vellum with that big gold border was just a smidge too much for my liking. So I thought, well, if I trim it down and add just that piece, it's going to be a little less in your face and more appealing to those that don't like a whole lot of gold. So all I'm doing here is on the back side where the leaves are, I'm just taking a tiny dot of glue to add to that and turn this sideways so that I can get it so that we're over to the side slightly, and we're just going to shimmy that up so that we've got basically as close as possible to the same distance on the top and bottom. And it takes a few moments longer for it to dry, the glue on vellum, so you've got some time there to deal with that. Okay, so now when you watercolor, you'll notice that the cardstock really does curl even when you set it aside to dry. So the way I want to fix that is I have cut a piece of thick basic white cardstock the exact same size. This is 2 3/4 by 3 1/2, and this is the shimmery white, like I said. So I'm making sure I use enough glue on this to help keep it flat. And then I am going to, because my thick basic white is cut the exact same size, I'm going to adhere this to that layer, scooch that up just slightly. And then I'm going to set that punch on it upside down just for the moment to give that even pressure so that it will dry quickly and evenly. Okay, then next I am going to, that should be good. I just want to give it that moment of that extra pressure. All right, so now it should be nice, and I'm just going along the sides here. It should have had enough time, and that straightens that out, as you can see that it's not curling up there at all. So I'm going to add dimensionals to the back, and I want to add enough that it's not going to lift or buckle or anything like that. All right, bring that back in, remove my backings. And one more. Oh, there we go. So then I want to have this where you can see that there is where the vining stops. I'm going to bring this, and this is going to be centered. So that covers that, and it's going to be centered on the card front as close as possible. Lift that up, make sure that I'm not wonky. And then my little strip of "I'll always be here for you," make sure I'm applying the glue to the straightly stamped side, and I'm just going to cover right here and scooch that slightly so that B is basically, the word B is basically the center there. Then we're going to take some of this pretty Mossy Meadow twine that you got in the kit, and I always like to leave it on the spool so that I don't waste. Make a quick little bow here. Sometimes we need that extra little hand, that little help there to get that loop through. Tighten that, holding the center loop, so you make a nice little bow. And pull those together and snip. Okay, see how that length is? Oh, that is a good length. Now I'm going to take, I don't like to use the little glue dots that came in that paper pumpkin package, so I just fold over one of the regular mini dimensionals, and I'm putting it in the corner, the bottom right hand corner, so that way my bow here is going to sit and it's not going to cover my word there. It's kind of framing that corner very cutely. And then the last thing we're going to do is add some pearls, and I always like to add a little bit of adhesive to the card front, as I find that the pearls don't always stay where you put them when they go through the mail. It just helps to keep it in place. And 3 in a triangle formation, as that is more appealing to the eye. And there we have a very pretty alternative card using the February paper pumpkin kit. Now I also have one more card to share with you that the measurements will be on my blog. So I actually took the card, the one card itself, and I cut it down and created this with the big loopy bow. So the measurements for this will be found on my blog post. All you have to do is go to the link that's below, and that will take you to this blog post with all of the measurements for the cards. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I'll see you next video. Bye for now.